Hello and welcome to the Melissa Diaz Report. My name is Melissa Diaz, coming to you live from Austin, Texas, baby, where the weather is finally getting below 70 degrees. Hooray, 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 hooray. Hooray, hooray. I can't wait to enjoy the 2 months of 70 to 60 degree weather before it goes back to a blistering 200,000 degrees. That's amazing, amazing. Just in time for South by Southwest. South by Southwest is basically this city's bait and switch for people who think this is a beautiful, nice city all the time, because they only go and visit Austin during South by Southwest and times of the year like that when everything is perfect for like 5 seconds. And then you move here and you realize that the rest of the 11 months of the year, you're basically living on Mars. So that's something to consider when moving here. Just say it's still Texas, regardless of whether it's Austin. And, Austin, everybody's so cool here. Everybody just walks around, just like half naked with fanny packs because it's hot, but it's nice. It's a nice hot. It's not even a dry heat. It's a wet heat. Not as wet as, say, Louisiana, but still pretty bad. Oh, brand new news about the baby. Baby is growing a tooth. Very adorable. Just giving you a little update on what's going on in my life. Is that my whole life has become hyper focused on an infant's first tooth growing. Just becomes fascinating all of a sudden. I used to have interests in things other than baby teeth, and then I realized that actually no, the baby thing is pretty cool. It's pretty awesome. And you can tell because you can tell that people should have babies. I'm starting to see that. You gotta admit it, whether you should or not. Like for real, like whether it's some moral imperative or some crap like that. I have no say on that. I have no valid input in that department. But you can tell we're meant to have babies because you can see how people act when they don't have any babies, right? Guys start taking long drives and doing weird shit and just trying to get up to problems. Like guys just get into trouble because getting into trouble is the substitute for just having responsibilities. Because when you get into trouble, you have to extricate yourself from trouble. So now you have a series of tasks to make your life busy with. Get rid of the crazy girl, pay off the bookies. It's like now you have steps you need to take in your life. Get this thing off my dick, whatever you put it in, should I go to the hospital? What is this on my balls? Usually it's like you guys get their dicks into things because what they really want is to get into good trouble by putting their dick into the right thing to have a baby and therefore help raise the baby. That's what your dick is trying to pull you into. But then instead, you don't want a kid, right? You're afraid, so you run away from the pussy that will give you the loving family that you actually want, and then your dick goes into a different kind of chaos. From good chaos to bad chaos to night chaos to hookers to who could also become wonderful mothers if you just give them a chance, but you won't. So your dicks just keep pulling you into chaos and darkness because that's what a vagina is. A vagina is chaos and darkness because it's dark and because babies come out of it and babies are chaotic. You see what I'm saying? You see what I mean? And then women, when they don't have kids, you can tell they start collecting things to love. Homeless people, hamsters, parakeets. They start then they slowly start receding into like some weird pseudo maternal clown world. They start dyeing their hair weird colors. They start puncturing themselves. They start like receding into oversized sweaters, like kind of sinking into them and disappearing, slowly disappearing into furniture and sweaters, just kind of becoming nothing, like just erasing themselves because they're wasting away. But what I'm saying is that doesn't mean you should have a kid or that I'm telling you to have a kid. I'm just saying it's like you can tell a cheetah that it needs to run, that it's meant to run. But if the cheetah doesn't feel like running and it's sentient for some reason, you're not going to force it because it has humanhood, right? It has a brain. It has a perspective, and it wants things out of life. And if it doesn't feel like running, you can't make it, right? You can persuade it, try to, but if it's not convinced, that cheetah's just going to sit. It's going to sit and watch TV. That's what that cheetah is going to do. And all the things will happen to the cheetah because it doesn't run that you would expect, right? So atrophy, muscular atrophy, bone osteoporosis, things like that. And so, but you can't make this cheetah run, and maybe it's better that it doesn't run. Maybe it would suck at running. Maybe it's a bad runner and it knows it. So it's like, why am I competing out here in the Serengeti when I could just sit in this guy's living room and let him take videos of me for TikTok, and and I just pretend to be scary, but really I'm just a lazy cheetah. That's what I am, right? So it's just complicated. Life is complicated, is what I'm saying. But babies are awesome, and watching teeth grow is cool. So anyway, yeah, what's going on in the news? Let's see. Well, we have some data now that Black Friday weekend is over and Cyber Monday's here today, however, but we already have some, projections on the economy, because of it. And there were some surprising results in, the amount of consumerism that went down. We also have Debutante Ball in Paris 2025 edition, followed by Lilly Wachowski, one of the Wachowski sisters from The Matrix, ever heard of it? Who made a statement on a podcast describing fascism and what it does. Followed by our final and main news story of the day, which is that last Wednesday afternoon, a gunman fired on members of the West Virginia National Guard stationed near the Farragut West Metro Station in Washington, D.C. So this is a very ambitious itinerary for today. Let's see what we can do with what we can do. Okay. First up, let's see. We have America's economy and how it's becoming a little unclear, or why it's becoming unclear what's happening. Why do people say the economy is a certain way and then other people don't seem to have a problem with it? What is going on? Spoiler alert, you already know what's going on. It's income inequality. But it has taken a twist in this digital age. So let's see, let's dive in. For this story, I focused on the Pomp Letter. This is a Substack that focuses on, digital assets, economy through that lens, investment, and so forth. It's pretty good. Sometimes it has some insight. Sometimes it's just a bunch of fucking tech bros saying a lot of dumb shit. Or maybe I'm dumb and they're saying a lot of shit and I'm too dumb. I don't know. But let's see. Headlines show that the Black Friday sales shattered all previous records, with an estimated $11.8 billion spent online by American consumers during the one-day event. So that's online exclusively. Okay, so there's no in-store sales data yet. It's too soon. But other signs point to another record there as well. Okay, it's noteworthy because it debunks media apocalyptic reports and prognostications about low consumer sentiment in the economy. Isn't that interesting? The surveys are saying one thing, but the verifiable data is saying, at checkout, is saying another thing altogether. So the problem is that both groups seem to actually be correct. So wealthy citizens are doing well, and they went out in full force to purchase discounted products. This has been going on all year. So in fact, almost half of all e-commerce sales in Q2 of this year come from the top 10% of people in the socioeconomic ladder. And that's basically the problem here, is that if you look it up, you'll see that a very small percentage of the U.S. population is earning so much money that they are actually making 50% of the purchases in the country. They are the driving force for 50% of all purchases. And I think you could verify this, but it's kind of more or less about only 10% of the population that's able, and they are responsible for 50% of the consumer purchases in the fucking U.S. economy. Can you believe that? And so everybody else is struggling. We are living in 3 different economies is the new thing. Or maybe it's not new. It just seems that way, though. Things have changed. We've come a long way from the Reagan economy, the trickle-down economy, which did lead to an economic boom, allegedly, but the premise behind it doesn't seem to be relevant anymore, because before, the economy worked in such a way where maybe some money would trickle down from the very wealthy because they still needed people for many goods and services in various ways. And so it kind of led to some trickle down effect that you could open up cottage industries around big media institutions and figureheads, people, celebrities, right? And, people who, owned corporations, needed contractors and such and so forth. And they needed to hire people. They needed talent. And the talent needed help. And the help needed help for the talent for help for the talent for help. You know what I'm saying? So what I'm saying is, but that was due to the fact that making a profit here was still inefficient. Inefficient because you don't want the money to trickle away through your fingers, right? This is the equivalent. The trickle-down economy that Reagan was trying to promote is basically based on this. You can't hold a lot of sand in your fist, right? If you try, it starts to spill between your fingers, right? And so the trickle-down economy, the idea was that people would catch it, that trickle through the fingers, right? So that's actually inefficiency. The problem is now with what we have technologically, they have closed the gap on those inefficiencies and invented a cup to hold all the sand. Another way to look at it is the trickle-down economy used to be where, if a rich person pissed, it would hit you on the head eventually. So you would get some of that thing that they drank earlier in the form of some piss. Nice piss right on your head. But now no piss. Not even that. So you can't even be hydrated in any kind of way anymore. And in a way that's a win for efficiency, efficient use of resources for multinational corporations. It is for them a good thing because things are better in that way. But for us, the problem with broke and poor and even middle class people is that you rely on inefficiency almost like a parasite in order to get some of that, get a cut of that, a little bit of the scraps. So no scraps. They figured out a way to eat they're scraps, basically. And we now are struggling because the people that live at the bottom were supposedly able to scrape together some detritus, like crabs living at the very bottom of the ocean, those things that live in the utter darkness, right? But at least they can get little bits of matter that drops down from some corpse at the surface of the ocean, right? Little detritus. That's what poor people are. Unfortunately, they're reduced to being these little clawed organisms that just scuttle around at the bottom of society, just snapping up anything that falls from the top, right? Sharks, probably apex predators, right? They're at the top, polar bears and such and so forth, and then it kind of goes down. What are the middle class? The middle class are, coral reefs and things like that, right? Really good for a robust, ocean biome, but we all need each other. And that is no more. Now we live in 3 different economies. So I don't know what we're going to do about that. But, the only thing we're going to do is just fucking live in it. So Americans are frustrated with the economy. The outlook for 2026, every consumer sentiment gauge is saying the same thing. Sentiment is down to the worst level since April, or since inflation summer of 2022. So the middle class is feeling squeezed. Lower income households are basically in a recession. It's hard to get a job right now unless you work in healthcare, right? I'm just reading down the list of this article. Cost of living is up. And you already know this shit. Real incomes are trending down as inflation rises and pay gains are getting stingier. And this is all something that flies in the face of the fact that the economy in certain respects is booming. It's booming. But the reason why it's booming is because the economy has been decoupled, probably, my assumption, from describing the average experience of someone living here, and has basically come to be maybe more representative just of the drivers of the economy, which are the ultra rich and these multinational corporations and such and so forth, right? They do drive the economy, right? Make business, entrepreneurship, not entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is because it's somebody trying to be bigger. But, these big businesses, they are the economy. And before, poor people used to be able to just rely on the fact that some of that would come down to them eventually. You're just kind of holding your hands out, waiting, and something will happen. But now, due to extremely efficient methods of money laundering, we've gone way beyond Swiss banks. There are many, many ways for rich people to go like little squirrels, burying their riches in all kinds of different assets, like little tree holes, just squirreling things away for a rainy day. Well, the rainy day being obviously the AI apocalypse, of course. So there's too much instability. There's too much risk. There's the possibility of some kind of major international conflict, nuclear, AI. They're getting islands. The thing is like the trickle down economy worked when companies and corporations expected to stay and have fun and maybe go to Disney World with everybody sometimes. Why not? Have a good time. It's a democracy. But now they want to create, like micro cities on private islands that they can drone fly each other to, that they can shuttle to in drones and all kinds of other ways that allow them to never interact with regular people ever again. So because of that, all of that money, they're basically doing remittances. But remittances is like when a Mexican family works and sends money back home, and that helps the Mexican economy, right? That helps that person's that family's extended family in Mexico and stuff like that. But remittances for rich people does not go to a country. It goes to their country, the country that they are creating on some island in the Pacific that no one will ever see. We'll probably see it like in 100 years or something, when this McCarthy era of media censorship, which is basically the opposite of censorship from the 1950s, where they try to cut out media. Now they flood you with so much bullshit and AI slop and shit that is effectively censorship. You don't get to see what you should be seeing. You don't get to see what's actually in the public interest. You only get to see what's going on SNL or some other bullshit or some AI slop or some fucking YouTuber like me. Follow me, like, subscribe, yeah, etc. So, this is where it's at. In a way, the one thing I think that makes people the one thing that's kind of keeping people copacetic, I guess, is that the rich are trying to hide it mostly. And so people, out of sight, out of mind. Okay. You got your own hustle to worry about. And also people don't want to be jealous of anybody. Not most people anyway. People want to just take care of their families and friends and do that. Their tribe, whatever the fuck you're doing with your life. Okay. Your parakeets. You want to take care of your 7 cats and your 5 parakeets. Or if you're somebody with an actual baby, then you want to take care of those fucking things. So it's, or you want to take care of your tribe of, queer youth that got kicked out of their homes in Texas or something. Then you're all just kind of sharing rent on a house together and just clinging to each other for support or whatever. That's your family, right? You know what I mean? Whatever the fuck it is. Okay. So people are just trying to focus on their own thing and get rich on their own, I guess. They're just trying to, and just doing porn. That's what we're doing. Okay. The Americans are noble in that way because, we had dignity at one point and some desire to be dignified and have grace and self-respect, right? The problem is that you start to see it become more and more lucrative to sell your pictures of your feet online so much so that you're actually a piece of shit if you don't become an OnlyFans model or something to that effect. Okay? You are. What are you going to do to take care of your children? You're going to be a teacher? You loser. A teacher? If you're a teacher and you have children and that's all you want to do is be a teacher with children to feed and take care of and give opportunities to and give them a chance to survive in this fucking crazy country, and you're not doing porn, you should be investigated by CPS. You should be investigated just to check that everything's chill. Because if you at this point are not a stripper or an OnlyFans model or something like that, you're a, what are you, a sucker? You're a sucker and you're a masochist. And I guess that means I am. But I'm saying, like, it's suspect. It's very suspect. It's so much money. Don't you want to raise your baby? Don't you want to give them every opportunity? The only thing that they are giving us as opportunity now is be a nurse and clean up shit. Or if you can't afford to go to nursing school or something, right? Be a whore. Be a whore. That's your ticket. That's your ticket out of here. Is to just be, but you got to be the best whore. You can't just be some lazy whore. Okay? A lot of people say, like, oh, you don't want to work in the porn industry because, it exploits girls and, but it's because you're lazy. Okay? The ones that are successful, they are entrepreneurs. That's, you know what I mean? They are savage sharks. They are sociopaths, psychopaths, okay? They have problems. They are emotionally dysregulated and bipolar, and they're ready to party, okay? And they want to make it. They're hungry, okay? It's not just about like a girl, like exploitation. You got to be a tiger. You got to be a shark. You got to be a predator to make it. You can't just be you can't be a lazy hoe. You can't be a lazy anything. Do you understand? And so that's what happens, is that 20% of people in any industry are the only ones that actually work to the point where they actually ruin their lives. And those are the ones that succeed. And then everybody else actually has like some idea that they should cultivate and maintain the closeness of their family and friends, and that they should go out and help people, or maybe go out and touch the grass or something like that, right? Those people are wrong. If you want to succeed, you got to get rid. All of that shit goes out the window. Don't you want to raise your baby girl? Your baby will hate you when she becomes a young adult, but she'll hate you with a trust fund. Do you understand? She'll hate you with a trust fund. You did your job. You weren't just a fucking teacher, okay? Doing it for the love of whatever. All right, you went out and got that money, because that's what matters. Money, right? So anyway, just go be an influencer. That's what we have here now. So, all right. And like, speaking of rich people flaunting their wealth, I mean, there was a debutante ball in Paris 2025, and this will really give what I'm saying weight, okay? So, because first of all, right, debutante ball, they're trying to get a bunch of Hollywood Nepo babies, royalty Nepo babies, fashion Nepo babies. They're trying to put them all in a room together, these girls, right? And they're basically cosplaying debutantes. Debutantes? Nobody does debutante shit anymore. They were just doing it for themselves. They sent out a press release. They're trying to make it a thing. Because the thing about rich people is that no matter what, it's Animal Farm all over again, right? The United States started, people supposedly, we're not about tyranny, we're not about monarchy, we're not about any of that shit. No kings, no tyrants, no blah blah blah, right? There was a whole protest about it recently. No kings, blah. No kings protest, right? The people that go to the No Kings protest are the same people that they go to Fashion Week every year religiously. It's like they love celebrities, right? They like and I'm not saying all the people that do No Kings, obviously. Some of them are just like heinous looking, just environmentalists or some bullshit like that. You know what I mean? Just like kind of droopy lesbians and, like anarchists or like Marxists or something, like, but they're not Marxists. It's like you just come from a broken home, and you're trying to find meaning in your life. But other people are they're there for the Instagram likes. They're there for the pictures. They're there for the photography session of every event now. That's why you have like scream clubs where people just go scream together. You have trash pickup clubs in New York now. It's that people they don't know how to do anything anymore. And the debutante ball is just another example of that. These are rich young girls who don't have personalities. They don't know how to be rich. They just have some vague notion that they want to make their friends jealous. They want to be seen. They think that their wealth entitles them to some kind of attention in this way, in this respect. And so, but the problem is that they're not competitive in the whore economy, okay? There are many, many more girls who come from all walks of life who are more charismatic, harder working, just sharper. They got their finger on the pulse. These are just lazy rich girls who just they just have access to certain things that influencers don't, like royal jewelry or something. Like, who gives a fuck? That's what that guy stole, the Napoleon's jewelry from the Louvre. I wish they'd gotten away with it. Fuck royal jewelry. I don't give a fuck about. I don't care about the royalty. I'm so tired of this like weird fringe marketing campaign from who the hell knows who. Well, I guess it's just these people trying to make us give a shit about anything remotely resembling royalty. Okay, you want to be royalty here? You have to debase yourself for our entertainment. That's why Kardashians are our celebrities and the closest to royalty that we'll ever have or will have for a long time. You have to be like, you know that scene from Game of Thrones where Cersei had to go through the city naked while people threw shit at her and vomit and rotten fruit and vegetables, and then there was like a lady behind her going shame with a bell, shame, shame, ding a ling a ling a ling, shame, ling a ling. Do I have a bell on this thing? Shame, shame. Let me see. Is this a bell? Oh yeah, shame, shame. Shame. Okay? That's how the Kardashians became famous. That's the sex tape and all the trolling and everything like that actually makes them look like shitty, trashy, shameful whores, right? This is a strategy. This is the only way that Americans will allow you to come close to being anything resembling royalty here. It's like, you want it? You got to walk through our excrement to get there. You want it? Let's see you earn it. And these debutantes, these so-called debutantes in Paris 2025 are not that. They are not willing to go the distance to do that. So all they're going to do is go into some little room in a little palace and wear the jewelry and traipse around and dance kind of weirdly, incestuously with their dads, okay? And just kind of look at each other out of the corner of their eyes and just, really, that's it. That's all. Because, and this actually gave me hope because I actually looked up the Paris debutante ball because it was being advertised in some news outlet. And there's no views. There are no views on some of these videos. Nobody cares, okay? Now, if they did shame, there should be a debutante OnlyFans ball. That's what people would tune in for, okay? Nobody cares about a bunch of inbred girls from old families in Europe. This list of girls, if you look it up, it's a list of children who come from inbred European royalty from hundreds of years back. I'm not interested in that. We have inbred celebrity royalty here. They're called the Whitakers, okay? And people like that. People with hearts of gold. People who are minding their own business, inbreeding in some place in West Virginia, some backwoods place that we come and find. We like a treasure. Like the real crown jewels is the Whitaker, just fine. And they're sweet and they're not hurting anybody. And so we come to ruin their lives and put them on display. And that's our royalty. Those are the people that we love and admire, and they're like our mascots. They've also been taken away by the state recently from what I understand in the news. And so that's just how it's going to be. Okay. Moving on the So True podcast, Matrix director Lilly Wachowski talked about right-wing tactics. And that was an interesting clip. It's if you don't know the So True podcast, I think it's actually a pretty good podcast. Personally, I think it has its finger on the pulse of a subset of American culture. I think there are a lot of interesting interviews on it. It's hosted by Caleb Heron. And so in this clip, Lilly Wachowski describes fascism after a question that Caleb poses to her about how the Trump administration uses the Matrix to as a analogy for a lot of their policies or perspectives. So there we go.
I was going to ask you, I'm glad you brought it up, about the Matrix and the specific, like, how you've dealt with, these loser freaks, like, co-opting this thing to make it something, that just must be so crazy for you to be like, why are members of the Trump administration, like, talking about the Matrix like it was made for them and their ideology when it came from you and that's not you at all? I mean, what do you even do with that? Other than love it, I know you voted for him.
I did twice. They don't make stuff anymore with the idea that I wanted to reach as many people as possible. I make to make, right? It's like you just finished Trash Mountain. That experience is the reason you're there.
Yeah.
Not what comes after. Right-wing ideology appropriates absolutely everything. They appropriate left-wing points of view, and they mutate them for their own propaganda, for their own, to obfuscate what the real message is. This is what fascism does. And so, of course, that's going to happen. Right. They do it with absolutely.
Anyway, so so basically, Lilly Wachowski just described the entire internet social media economy and literally what everybody does, and basically attributed those tactics to the right, and that they, and only they, take things in the culture, twist it to serve their narrative, and create propaganda with it, and that is fascism. Well, then I hate to report to you that literally everyone that you know is a fascist, because that's basically what everyone does at every tier of consciousness, from the individual to the mass. What, psychosis? I don't know. We're psychotic. We're a psychotic species. You go through your entire day twisting external stimuli to suit your personal narrative, and people know that, and they do that to you to sell you things, ideas, products, services. So that was an interesting perspective for me, because she just described basically everybody. She described everybody, what everybody does, from the private to the public, and what everyone will continue to do till the end of time, right? That's why rich people are building their own islands, so that they could have they can control the narrative of their entire existence, to restrict it to just pleasant, stimulating interactions, that tightly controlled environment. No crackheads. I bet there's no crackheads. There's a couple of those private islands that have crackheads, but only because they personally find it stimulating to see crackheads roaming around in their private island in the woods. Because it makes it, maybe it gives it an element of danger, or maybe an element of some kind of, Disneyland level cosplay of a social hierarchy or something like that. Like, it's just a fun way to pretend you're in New York City, is build a New York City for you on an island that your friends can visit, and your family, and bring in drug addicts, but drug addicts that are tightly controlled, and they live in, little pods that you give them, and then you let them out every morning to just run around and ask for change, and then you laugh and you give them change, which is really quaint, because change doesn't exist anymore. It's all digital, and you just throw them coins, and then you can just pretend that you're like some, some like city guy, rich city finance bro, but really you're just like a digital asset tokenization data analyst, whatever the fuck, whatever mind-bendingly boring job that people do have now to be rich. And that's it. This is that was just an interesting little clip for me that I wanted to share with you, because this is the level of delusion that we're living in. This is the problem with the so-called political divide. The only division is in our brains right now, because we think every person's walking around, the really political people, thinking that they are pure somehow, like they are untouched by their phones and its effect on their psychology. They have been unmodified psychologically with all even though they interact on Facebook, and Instagram, and they're yelling at people on Facebook, but they're convinced that they came about this behavior on their own, completely innocently. They're just speaking truth to power, and everybody else is brainwashed. Everybody else is losing themselves in this phantom world, that this like digital mall, basically, that you just wander around endlessly in when you're online. That not them. They're not them. They are free. They are struggling and grappling with reality. It's everybody else who is delusional, and that is how this thing keeps going. Is that nobody's willing to admit that they have been molested by Instagram. You know what I mean? Like, nobody's willing to admit to themselves that they have been altered by, we all have been. And until we kind of come to grips with that, we're just going to keep going in this self-deluded, media economy where everybody just keeps getting fragmented out into these little podcasts and then being told what they want to hear, basically, and never really coming to grips and looking in the mirror, the black mirror, and admitting that these tech companies have molested you. We have all been touched by these companies like they're our uncles. You have been touched by Uncle Zuckerberg, okay? He touched you. You got to show us where he touched you on the doll, okay? Show us. And then we can all heal together and realize what's going on. Anyway, let's close it out here with the last bit of news. Last Wednesday afternoon, a gunman fired on members of the West Virginia National Guard stationed near Farragut West Metro Station in Washington, D.C., which is only a few blocks from the White House. Sarah Beckstrom, a 20-year-old Army specialist, died Thursday from her injuries, while 24-year-old Andrew Wolf is in critical condition. A 29-year-old Afghan national, Jesus Christ, Ramalama Ding Dong Ramalama Ding Dong Lackerwall faces at least one charge of first-degree murder, with Janine Pirro, the U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia, telling Fox News on Friday that further charges were coming. That's interesting. This, from the beginning, obviously everybody jumped on it for their own purposes. The right's like, this is terrorism. The left is like, I don't even know. We like terrorism. I don't know what their stance was. I'm just saying whatever comes into my head. But anyway, this is clearly not just some domestic terror. I mean, some foreign terrorist, though, because the guy worked with the CIA. His brother worked with the CIA. And I think their job was actually taking out members of like leaders in the Taliban and things like that. So he was helping the CIA and probably really believed in their mission and thought that in time they were going to win, probably, and that things would get better in Afghanistan. And that's the problem with not knowing America and understanding that that's never going to happen. Okay. This is according to the Associated Press. So he applied for asylum in 2024, and the Trump administration granted the request earlier this year. Let's see. Yeah, so now they're putting immigration on asylum decisions on hold, and they're going to review all the Afghan nationals. I mean, this is clearly not. This guy did not become Well, I don't know. I don't know, right? But I will say that it doesn't strike me as somebody who was just, he wasn't like Boston Marathon terrorist, right? If anything, this actually struck me as one of ours. You know, this was actually a very distinctly American style attack. This is a disgruntled American is what this felt like to me, even though he's an Afghan national. And that's the problem with putting people in all these little identity boxes, right? Is that you don't see it coming when somebody starts acting in a way that doesn't fit their identity box, right? He doesn't act like an Afghan terrorist. It's like, yeah, but is he acting maybe like a disgruntled teenager from Columbine or something, perhaps? Is he a little bit more like that? Maybe you want to check in that. Okay? According to Tangle, the suspect, a 29-year-old man, so he was a member of the Special Afghan Army Unit that worked with the U.S. in Afghanistan prior to the U.S. military's withdrawal in 2021. He came to the United States legally under the Biden administration's Operation Allies Welcome program, which evacuated and resettled tens of thousands of Afghans as the country's government collapsed. The Trump administration granted him asylum in 2025, as I said. As investigators work to determine a motive, new reporting suggests that the suspect struggled to adjust to life in the United States and had grown increasingly isolated in recent years. And that's the thing, right? Because unless you're used to what this country does to you, it can really come as a shock how much like shit you're treated if you're not, upper middle class and above, basically. Middle class, even they're feeling a little squeezed economically. They're doing okay, though. They're maintaining, but they're not happy. But if you're just an Afghan national and you're just kind of trying to take whatever the government's giving you and making the best you can of a life with it, then welcome to that side of America. Welcome to the dark side of America. And there's nothing for you here. If you're just going to see, sites that the thing is, you can't be a person with dignity and self-respect and like a sense of purpose. And you can't be a person who believes in anything spiritual, not really, not uncynically. You can't do that and survive as a poor person here. The reason why poor people here are the nihilistic trash that they are is because that's a survival mechanism. It's the only way you can survive here psychologically, is accepting that this is what they want you to be. And you know what? This is what you are. And maybe that's okay. And you know what? Fuck it. And I don't believe in anything anyway. And I'm just going to spend my life just having fun at festivals where people just drag me through the mud in a truck. And like all of my daughters are twerking on poles in front of just lots of men. And my wife is sleeping. She's cucking me on OnlyFans for money. And like, who gives a shit? And I'm going to get a piercing. And maybe I should get another tattoo. And maybe I should get drunk. And maybe I should try meth. And like, why? Why not? Like, you can only survive here psychologically if that's what you do. That's it. That's the only thing. So, that's unfortunately the reality. And the problem is that I'm sure this guy, I think this country broke him psychologically, because I'm sure he probably had better expectations. And according to this new reporting, he did struggle with finding a job here, taking care of his family. According to emails sent to the U.S. Committee for Refugees and Immigrants in 2024, the suspect was not functional as a person, father, and provider since March of last year. He quit his job that month, and his behavior has changed greatly. Other emails described him as prone to manic episodes, depression, and periods of dark isolation and reckless travel. So he would take long road trips through the country. And you don't want to do that if you're already mentally struggling, because this country, once you get past the glitz and glamour of the coastal cities, is a depressing, burning dumpster fire of a place. And the people have grown used to it. They warm themselves by the dumpster fire now. They warm their hands. They look around and they're like, hey, what are we gonna get up to today? Do you guys wanna try Meth? Hey, why not? You know? And maybe I'll be a prostitute and things like that. That's kind of what people are thinking of. And so, but to the shock of that, I'm sure, really, really wounded him when he realized what he had brought his family into. And that's a hard thing probably to grapple with. And, you know, and if you're already, and he probably was suffering from PTSD, and also like imagine what it feels like to like kind of betray, you know, people from your cultural group, to the CIA of all people. And maybe he started reading a couple of books, a couple of our books, the books that we have about the CIA. And then he started to maybe, you know, have a couple of questions. I mean, this country will break you unless you already come broken. I mean, you got to break yourself. That's it. That's the only way. So that's sucky. I hate it. And also, you know, this guy, this is the thing, you know, this is a fresh off the plane guy. He doesn't know how things work here. He doesn't understand that if you want to go shoot somebody, you don't shoot a young, hot 20-year-old girl, National Guardsman serving her country. You don't do that. That's not going to work. No one's going to be sympathetic to that. You always have to kill someone who's less hotter than you. Everybody knows it. Luigi Mangione knows it now. Maybe he didn't even know it at the time. But we're going to find out. I think this is going to become more and more of a thing. Because you can't shoot somebody hotter and younger than you. People get mad because that hot young person could have been on people's screens on their OnlyFans platforms, you know, in some point in the future or something like that. You know, you took away somebody who you could have, you know, gotten off on in some way, in TV, in porn, and something, in YouTube or something like that, right? So we don't like that here, okay? You can't be some ugly, you know, 29-year-old guy, overweight or whatever, just killing some hot 20-year-old number over here. That's what people are going to start to realize, is that if you want people to be killed, you got to be hot. You got to be hotter than your target, because people like to imagine themselves as the person killing anybody. And usually what people want to kill is somebody who's older and richer. So that's why the Luigi Mangione thing worked the way it did. And you know, I think that's going to be a lesson for the culture and a lesson going forward, because we've been having so many years of reality TV that people are getting bored with it. But now this is an opportunity for some kind of Avatar situation, right? So people can maybe use this as a lesson in learning that, I mean, actors are going to learn it. They're going to learn that if they kill people, people will like them more if an actor kills a CEO than if they churn out another shitty movie. We're tired of their shitty movies, and we're tired of actors trying to pretend to be influencers. Nobody wants you to do that. You're not good at it. We know you're a sociopath. We know that you're an empty husk and you need characters to step into to feel whole. We like that for you. We love it for you. Why not do it for the American public? Okay? You should be assassins for the people. That's for our entertainment and for our gratification. Because especially with the income inequality now, it's going to be such a good time to make money off of the masses, because we want to see certain rich people dead. And we want to imagine ourselves doing it. And we want to imagine ourselves hot and young with abs. And actors have that. And hot people have that. So I don't know. I think this might be an opportunity for maybe like GoFundMe assassinations or something like that. Crowdsourcing assassins. That's a good idea, I think. You can crowdsource, right? You pick your hottie, right? You pick their weapon of choice. It's your choice. We choose the weapons, we choose the hottie, and we choose the target. And like by popular vote, we just decide. And you don't even have to, you know, the rich person doesn't even have to even be the person that died. Get a double, get a body double, right? Make it a whole thing and chase them down and kill a clone of yourself, right? This could all kind of work out for the American entertainment industry. You just have to have the right motivation. You have to have the same motivation that Lily Phillips has to be the greatest OnlyFans model on OnlyFans. Anyway, that's all the time I have for you today. Thank you for tuning in to the Melissa Diaz Report. I've been Melissa Diaz. Now I'm out. I'm pretty sure my video cut out at some point earlier and I just kept going. So thank you for tuning in to the Melissa Diaz Report. I have been Melissa Diaz. Now I'm out. Thank you so much for listening. Until Thursday, I hope you have a great week and I'll talk to you then. All right? Bye.